Built like a powerlifter, fast as an Olympic sprinter, he ran a sub 4.240 at 230 pounds. And he didn't just outrun defenders, he ran through them. Bo Jackson consistently showed why he's the most physically dominant player ever. During a pro day at Auburn, Bo Jackson ran a 4.12 40-yard time. However, that was hand-timed. While Jackson claims it was electronically timed, I remain very skeptical, even if this is Bo Jackson we're talking about. Because while 7 players have reportedly run a sub 4.2 40-yard dash using hand timing, nobody has done it with electronic timing. But even if we assume a more modest 40-yard time, say between 4.2 to 4.4 seconds, at 230 pounds, he was still incredibly fast. Let me show you what that speed actually looked like. Tight near right, 17 Bob Tray O.
And Bo Jackson to the 20 and out in front, and only one man to beat, and easily can't run him down. He had the angle, but there goes Bo, and nobody catches Bo. Touchdown.
From the Raiders' 9-yard line, Jackson took it 91 yards for a touchdown at a speed so fast he couldn't stop once he reached the goal line. He had to keep running straight into the tunnel. Nobody could catch Bo, but even if you faced him head-on, it was problematic. Just ask Brian Bosworth. During the same game at the 2-yard line, Jackson took the handoff. Bosworth was there to make the tackle. This game had been much anticipated. You had Bo Jackson, a mild-mannered, once-in-a-lifetime talent, versus Brian Bosworth, this brash, outspoken linebacker, who had guaranteed he'd shut down Jackson. Well, as the two met, Jackson just bulldozed past the Bos into the end zone for another touchdown. In just his 5th NFL game, Bo Jackson had announced his arrival to the NFL. Now that Bos play gets all the attention, but it wasn't even his most impressive moment that season. 1 week earlier, Bo did something even more insane. Down 13-7 against the Broncos in the second quarter, Bo Jackson took the pitch and quickly reversed. He runs up the left side of the field, but as he gets into the secondary, Mike Harden is waiting. He was a notorious hard hitter in the 80s, and he was getting ready to give Jackson his best shot. But undeterred, Jackson just ran through Mike Harden, planted him on his backside. Then in a couple steps, he's back at full speed. It was that combination of speed and power that made him unstoppable. At 6'1" and 230 pounds, Bo was pure muscle, yet he could outrun virtually anyone on the field. But that athletic prowess had been clear for a long time. In high school, he won 2 state championships in the decathlon. What's absurd is that he didn't train at all. His coach invited him to participate 2 weeks before the event. Then, because his scores were so high, he only had to take part in 9 of 10 events. He could take a 0 in the mile run and still win. While rushing for nearly 1,200 yards his senior year, he also hit 21 home runs in 25 games, a national high school record. That caught the attention of the New York Yankees, who drafted him in the second round of 1982. But an 18-year-old Bo Jackson was not interested in a $250,000 check, instead choosing to play football at Auburn. He had a phenomenal college career, averaging 6.6 yards per attempt and almost a touchdown per game. But what made Bo Jackson was the mythic moments. That started his freshman year against Alabama. Auburn had not beat them in almost a decade. Now down 22-17, Auburn faced 4th and goal at the 1-yard line. Bo gets the handoff. He leaps over the top, but looks short, until an extra stretch gets him across the goal line. Auburn would win 23-22, and it set up a decade filled with 4 SEC championships. By the time he won the Heisman, NFL scouts weren't just impressed, they were in awe. Some gave him the highest grade they ever assigned a player to this day. But it's no secret that football was his only interest. He was a legitimate star in both baseball and football. Even though he preferred baseball, the NFL seemed inevitable. The scouting report from the Kansas City Royals listed his only weakness as football. The Tampa Bay Bucks had the number 1 pick in 1986, so they invited Jackson down to Tampa for a physical. However, there was an SEC rule that required athletes to be an amateur across all sports. By taking a flight on the dollar of an NFL team, he was considered a pro. That left him ineligible for the baseball season. Jackson was told the visit was cleared, but it was not. He suspected the Bucks set him up, knowing it would rule him ineligible, and therefore leaving football his only option. So he made it clear to the Bucks owner, "You draft me if you want. You're going to waste a draft pick. I promise you that." The Bucks called his bluff.
Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers select first choice on the first round. Running back from Auburn, Bo Jackson.
The owner, Hugh Culverhouse, was arrogant. He thought, there's no way this guy is turning down millions out of spite. With the MLB draft still a month away, the Bucks had some time to regain Jackson's trust. He flew to Tampa to meet with the players, tour the facility, and even have dinner with Culverhouse and Steve Young. But the Bucks were pure dysfunction. As Steve Young said, no sane person would choose to join that franchise. With a terrible team, terrible owner, and a move Jackson suspected was foul play, he had no intention of signing. It's very likely that if any other team had drafted him, Jackson would have committed to the NFL. So you can thank this doofus for screwing all NFL fans. Now with the MLB draft approaching, teams were also skeptical. If they pick him, will he even commit? So he fell to the 4th round. The defending champion Kansas City Royals took that chance. Jackson would turn down a $7.6 million contract from the Bucks for a 3-year, $1 million contract with the Royals. But after a season in the MLB, the 1987 draft was approaching. NFL teams were concerned about using a draft pick on a player that may never play. Enter Al Davis. He decided to take a chance. Jackson fell to the 7th round and he stepped in. Davis convinced him to play football part-time, giving him the freedom to play the entire baseball season before reporting to the Raiders. Now with Bo in the NFL, the myth could continue to grow. With no social media and limited national TV coverage, the gaps got filled in with legend. Stories passed down like folklore. Some were true, others unverifiable, but they were all believable because it was Bo Jackson. Jeff Pearlman, author of The Last Folk Hero, shared one story. During a high school game, he hit a baseball so high that by the time it came down, he was rounding the third base. The story was verified, but it was just one of many that left us thinking, did that actually happen? That was the magic of Bo. You know he could do it, so you had no choice but to believe it, and he backed up those stories on the field. His career average of 5.4 yards per carry ranks him 2nd all time, but outside of that one number, his raw stats don't exactly jump off the page. That's because he never played a full season, and he split carries with Hall of Famer Marcus Allen. To show how dominant he could have been, I estimated his production as a full-time back, assuming he got as many carries as the league leader in each of his seasons. Yes, more carries might have lowered his yards per attempt, but this is just to give a rough sense of his ceiling. This isn't a perfect method, it's hypothetical and probably leans optimistic, but the point is, even with rough estimates, Bo's ceiling was absurd. Had he stayed healthy and committed to football full-time, he would have gone down as one of the greatest running backs of all time. 1990 was the best example of his potential. He had just hit 32 home runs and won MVP of the MLB All-Star Game. And right after that, he joined the Raiders and had his best season, rushing for almost 1,000 yards in just 11 games. The legend exploded. Then came 60 seconds that would change everything.
Bo knows baseball. Bo knows football. Bo knows basketball too.
The slogan Bo knows fed into this idea that Bo Jackson could do anything. As that ad was hitting every TV in America, another innovation was about to endear Jackson to even more fans.
Bye-bye. See, Peter, he's too fast. You gotta tackle me. It's B. You gotta press B. I'm pressing B. He's too fast. Going over here? Going over here now? Never get tired. Change your guy, Quagmire. Change your guy. I'm trying. Peter's cheating. You're cheating, Peter. I'm not cheating. I'm following the rules. I'm just really good. You're not really good. You just got Bo Jackson.
From watching the dominance live on TV to now controlling Jackson like a cheat code in Tech Mobile, the legend could only grow. So back to 1990. It was the Raiders' first winning season with Jackson and their first playoff appearance. In the third quarter of the AFC divisional round, linebacker Kevin Walker brought down Jackson from behind after a 34-yard run. It was a routine tackle, but Jackson was in visible pain. However, with some help, he limped to the sideline and watched the remainder of the game from the bench. He was thinking he could play the following week, but upon further inspection, it was clear he was wrong. He had dislocated his left hip, which resulted in avascular necrosis. Without going into the medical details, he would eventually need a hip replacement. The tackle ended his career. But the injury didn't kill the myth, it cemented it. It was the brevity of his peak. Bo was headed to the Hall of Fame, there's no doubt about it. But we'll never know what records he might have shattered, or just how far his legacy could have gone. Following his injury, the Kansas City Royals released him. However, the Chicago White Sox had more faith, and they signed him just 2 weeks later. He made a brief appearance in 1991, but he had to undergo hip replacement surgery that put him out for the entire 1992 season, so he returned in 1993. Jackson had promised his mother once he returned from surgery, his first hit would be dedicated to her. But before he could, his mother passed away. Still, in her honor, he hit a home run his first hit at bat. He won American League Comeback Player of the Year and became the first player in pro sports to play with an artificial hip. But Jackson would never return to his previous form, leaving everybody wondering, what if?